What up, Homedawgs? My name is Gokey Gamer, and welcome everybody to week 2 of the PUDL, where this week we're going to be taking on Coach Spoodz and the Talkeetna Tyrants. Actually, I apologize, it's the Talkeetna Tyrants. I think that's how you say it. I hope that's how you say it. Now, our opponent this week has the extremely terrifying Spectrier, which I know I haven't really hyped up that much in the past, but our current bulky normal type is weak to dark pulses, so Spectrier is actually a very major threat for us. We are also very much hoping for a win after our unfortunate loss last week, so we've got a very tough matchup ahead of us, and we are definitely pushing for a win this week, so let's go ahead and head into the team breakdown. So like I mentioned earlier, Spoodz has got a Spectrier as their first Pokemon, and the other Pokemon that follow are Quaquaval, Ogerpon-Hearthflame, a Tera Scrafty that can turn into a Dark, Poison, or Fairy type, Cincino, Dragalge, Kingambit, Diancie, Clotsire, a Toucannon that can turn into a normal Grass or Stellar type, and a Pyro that can turn into a Fire, Water, or Flying type. Overall, I really love this team. Fantastic speed tiers, a great mix of offense or defensive threats, and several Pokemon that can either win via sweeping or just coming in during the endgame and claim lives. That being said, I am terrified to be facing this team. In terms of what I'm expecting to show up, I'm predicting Spectrier, Quaquaval, Ogerpon-Hearthflame, Kingambit, Clodsire, and one of the Tera Caps, specifically Scrafty. Like I said earlier, this is an extremely tough matchup, but I'm never one to turn down a challenge, so let's get into what I'm bringing and why I'm bringing it. So the first Pokemon that I'm bringing is our dedicated lead, a Choice Scarfed Alolan Persian. With the Fur Coat ability as well as max attack and enough speed to outspeed an Ogerpon, we're rocking the moves Foul Play, U-Turn, Play Rough, and Switcheroo. Foul Play and Play Rough are pretty standard stab and coverage moves for things like Scrafty, Kingambit, and Ogerpon. U-Turn is there over parting shots so that I can avoid triggering a Defiant Kingambit or a Clear Body Diancie. And Switcheroo is there just in case I'm able to scarf something like Diancie, Clodsire, or even something like Spectrier in case it wants to come in to prevent setup potential. I really hope that Pudge puts in work this week, as it feels great to have this big Kato back on the team. However, believe it or not, Pudge isn't the only Pokemon with item switching shenanigans we're bringing this week, because we're also bringing the Jester with his tricks once again. Holding the choice specs this week with the ability Regenerator, we're rocking the max HP and special defense stats with the moves Scald, Psyshock, Chilly Reception, and Trick to round things out. Scald is a standard water stab, Psyshock is there specifically for Dragalge, Chilly Reception is there for momentum, and finally Trick is there specifically if Kingambit wants to attempt to switch in against me. I actually almost ran Choice Scarf on this too to avoid possibly giving Spectrier a special attack boost, but thankfully Nova actually talked some sense into me, as a Scarf Kingambit could arguably be a lot scarier. So shoutouts to Nova for suggesting the specs. Following up the Jester is none other than an absolute staple of the Milwaukee Medichams back in the Gen 8 days, and that is Taxi Driver the Corviknight. Holding the Akaberry because Ogerpon absolutely terrifies me, we're running a very risky set with this week with the moves Body Press, Taunt, Iron Defense, and Roost, with max HP and defense being the ability Mirror Armor to prevent my stats from being lowered. Now, the keen-eyed viewers will notice that I have absolutely no way of hitting Spectrier with this set, as this is an unfortunate case of the 4-move syndrome. Body Press and Iron Defense are absolutely phenomenal against everything else on my opponent's team besides Clodsire, which is also the reason I'm bringing Taunt. It was either this set would get walled by Spectrier or Clodsire, so since I have several other answers for Spectrier already, I figured I'd have this be the unexpected Clodsire answer. Hopefully this game won't come down to a Corviknight outstalling a Spectrier. Speaking of walling Spectrier, after this is our resident normal type that can hopefully 1v1 Spectrier, Hatsune Miku the Meloetta. Unfortunately, since the shiny form of Meloetta has never been officially released, we won't witness the glory of the true Hatsune Miku, but then again, I don't know if my Switch would be able to handle that level of power. This week we've got the Assault Vest to help tank hits from Spectrier better, and we're rocking the moves Zen Headbutt, Relic Song, Close Combat, and Knock Off with a Serene Grace ability, and max attack and enough speed to outspeed an adamant Quaquaval, and a max speed Ogerpon once I turn into my Pirouette Form. Yes, we are rocking the Form Switch tech this week. This set honestly looks extremely clean into Spoodz' team, so I'm really hoping it pops off this week. After this, we've got our dedicated spinner and one of our Tera captains this week, Sushi the Tatsugiri. Holding the heavy duty boots this week to help against the possible hazard stacking Clodsire, we're rocking the moves Surf, Draco Meteor, Nasty Plot, and Rapid Spin with the Tera Dragon and max special attack and speed to absolutely nuke something. I think this set has a lot of potential to claim lives, so hopefully he's able to make a name for himself in his debut battle. And last up on the team is our other Tera captain, Minnesota the Berserker. Hoping for a redemption after last week, this week we're rocking the Assault Vest to also help out against Spectrier with the Tough Claw's ability to maximize our damage output alongside the moves Iron Head, Knock Off, Close Combat, and Play Rough. We've also got the Tera Steel, max attack, and max HP to hopefully really make sure that no Pokemon can switch in against this insane threat. Minnesota's power is absolutely massive, so hopefully he can show just how threatening he can be this week. And that's the team we're bringing for this week of the PUDL. We definitely have a very tough matchup this week, but I think we've got just the right team to get a W this week to make sure our win-loss ratio is a 1-1. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and whap to the battle. Whap! Hey everybody, it's your boy Gokey Gamer again. Hello, hi, nice to meet you. Now, I just wanted to pop in here to say a couple things about the game before we actually get started. So a little bit of what's going on in IRL terms. I'm actually working on moving. I'm working on trying to find a place to move to. I'm hoping to move sometime in a couple of weeks, and it's very stressful. I'm very busy, and it's very hard to... It's just taking up a lot of my free time. So, and I'm very, very stressed about it. I found the place, I just need to, hopefully everything works out, and then I can just move in. Hopefully, ideally, that's will be the plan, but as of right now, I'm still working through the details of it, and it's a lot. So, as a result, unfortunately, I was not able to script a post-commentary script for this battle once again. However, this time I am pleased to say that I do have my own footage this time, so you guys will actually be seeing my points of battle, and you'll even see my face cam. The bad news about that is, unfortunately, my audio, I guess, didn't record. My mic audio didn't record, or something weird happened. I don't know what happened with it, but unfortunately, you won't hear any live commentary from me either, which is very unfortunate, and I hate that that happened for this specific video, that I can't post-com. So, as a result, I'm going to be doing the same thing that I did last week, where I just post-commentate live over the game as I watch it back. Except this time, the only difference is it'll be my footage as opposed to my opponent's footage. I am really sorry about this. I don't like having to do this, obviously, but again, it's just my circumstances right now. Next week, I might have to do that as well, or at the very least, next week will probably just be live commentary. That's probably what's going to end up happening if I had to guess. So, just keep that in mind. I might even just do live commentary for the rest of the videos for this league. But, yeah, let me know what you guys think about that down below. I apologize again, this will not continue happening, at least I hope, as long as my audio doesn't frick up again. Then next week should just be pure live commentary, most likely. I might have time to script a post-com, but I highly doubt that I will. But yeah, that'll pretty much do it. Thank you guys again so much for all of your support, and, yeah, without any further ado, now let's go ahead and walk to the battle. And we are back. So, yeah, I'm sure you guys just saw, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, my live commentary is dead, and I don't have time to script a post commentary. So, unfortunately, this is just what we're going to be rocking out with. I also have a battle for the SDA, or NBBL semis, I should say, not the SDA, the NBBL semis, coming up in about an hour, so that's very exciting. Oh, hey, look, it's me! It's me! Whoa! Oh god. So I see Spectrier, Ogerpon-Hearthflame, Kingambit, Quaquaval, Pyroar, and Dragalge. So one thing that I really noticed was, first off, immediately no Clodsire. I was very shocked not to see Clodsire. I was fully expecting that thing to come, and it didn't come, and it made me very, very sad. So, that was quite unfortunate. I really, really wish I had packed. It was around this point that I really wished I had packed a flying move on the Corviknight by this point, but I didn't, and that sucks a lot. It's also worth noting no Scrafty. I was fully expecting the Tera Scrafty to come, but instead we do see Tera Pyroar, which I also suspected had a pretty decent chance of coming. So overall, you know, pretty decent. A lot of pretty big threats. The Spectrier obviously being the major one. But, yeah, I guess without any further ado, you guys already saw my lead. I wasn't paying attention at all, but, I believe it was Slowking, if I remember correctly. And, yeah, let's go ahead and get into the match. Alrighty, so, we see that my opponent ends up leading with none other than the Shiny Pyroar. Shout out to the Shiny Pyroar I actually have, which is that I found during my playthrough of Pokemon Scarlet. That's pretty cool. We lead Pudge. That's right, I'm stupid. Yeah, we always led Pudge because of the Choice Scarf, so that's pretty cool. I think here I'm doing some calcs to see how much what does what, and I opt to just simply click U-turn, and we do see the immediate Tera, and we see that this Pyroar is going to be none other than Tera Fire, which is very terrifying for me. This is probably the Tera I expected the most to come, but it's still very terrifying, obviously, because Tera Fire just nukes things. So from here, I just simply swap into Slowking to take whatever hit this thing is wanting to deal to me. This is just the most obvious play. This also reveals that the Pyroar is not Scarfed because it is clicking Flame Charge. This is very, very good intel for me, as, you know, hey, this thing is not Scarfed, so he doesn't know that he doesn't know that a Alolan Persian is Scarfed itself. So that is very good information to know. So here I'm trying to figure out, I'm expecting my opponent to probably switch out here, so I think what I do here is I eventually fire off a Chilly Reception, and I go into, I don't even remember what I go into here, but I'm pretty sure I do switch out here. Yes, I do go for the Chilly Reception here, fully expecting my opponent to switch, and they don't. They just opt to stay in and click Dark Pulse. So, which does a pretty decent chunk. This will probably reveal to our opponent that we are max special defense, and unfortunately, we do flinch. This is the second week in a row where Slowking is flinched from Dark Pulse. Granted, it mattered more this week than it did last week, but you know, I'm still a little bit annoyed by that. We do see the Throat Spray after seeing Hyper Voice pop off, and thankfully, because we did flinch, despite the fact that we clicked Chilly Reception, we weren't locked into Chilly Reception because we did get flinched. So we are able to pick up straight up the KO here, which is obviously very, very nice for us. And I don't know if that's like reveals specs damage or not, but if I do think probably would have if my opponent is calculating that. So yes, Pyroar going down here is very, very good for us because that thing could have been very deadly if it had kept setting up. So yeah, again, the flinch from Dark Pulse is very annoying, but thankfully not completely game-breaking this time. So next up, my opponent decides to send in Dragalge, unsurprising. Now, we are choice locked into Scald. We do have Side Shock for this thing, but we are choice locked into Scald, so I opt to go ahead and switch into Minnesota here because of the Assault Vest. Dragalge's really just not going to want to touch this thing, and that is very, very good for ya boy. At this point, especially because Dragalge came in, I'm expecting either a Dragon or Poison move, which we resist, or a neutral Thunderbolt, which is not Stab. And we'll take advantage of adaptability. And we do see the Thunderbolt here. This should reveal to our opponent that we are in fact Assault Vest. And now that Pyroar is dead, I have to figure out what my opponent is probably going to try and switch in here. I'm expecting probably either the Quaquaval or the Ogerpon-Hearthflame, or even possibly Kingambit is what I'm expecting to switch in here. I also have to decide if I'm going to Tera here. I believe I do not Tera because I'm thinking about saving my Tera because Tera Dragon Tatsugiri looks really, really nice here. So I think here, yes, I just go for the neutral play, which is a knockoff, and Dragalge actually opts to stay in, and we do a massive, massive chunk and reveal that this Dragalge actually has the Assault Vest of their own. And they opt to actually just flip turn. Imagine if we had gone for Iron Head and then the Dragalge just flinched. That would have been kind of insane, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, this is Tough Claws Berserker putting in a crap ton of work, and then we see Fiona, which is a name I absolutely love for this Ogerpon-Hearthflame. Is absolutely perfect. It's so good. I commented on it after the game. I was like, I love that nickname. I think I said something here about it, but yeah, that name is just absolutely phenomenal. The problem with this thing is there's not much that can switch in against this, so I'm debating about like, oh crap, I knew this was going to be an issue, but I was like, you know what, it's fine. I think what I actually decide to do here is I stay in. I think I'm calculating here to see how much close combat does, because if close combat does a pretty decent chunk, then I'm fully expecting this thing to stay in, click Swords Dance, I fire off a close combat, and then Alolan Persian can come back in because I am Scarfed, and because I naturally outspeed it anyways, I will outspeed and pick up the KO. So I think what I do here, predicting a Swords Dance, I do stay in and click Close Combat. Yep, that is exactly what I do, and I am correct as my opponent goes for a Swords Dance. I definitely am very glad that I did not Tera Steel here, as a close combat pops off and we get a massive crit. Imagine if that crit had just straight up knocked Fiona out. That would have been crazy to see, but it didn't, and Berserker's obviously going to go down this turn to an IV Cudgel, which is going to deal a crap ton of damage, and we unfortunately fall. However, like I said earlier, this gives me the freest switch back into Alolan Persian. And actually, that crit does matter considerably because of the fact that now I can just simply go for a very free U-turn here. I don't have to stay in and choice lock myself into foul play. All I need to do here is click U-turn. This is a trade that I'm very happy I'm taking. just because, again, like, Ogerpon going down here, like, is very massive for us. We are playing, you know, like, we're playing very risky with this team in general. However, I'm very, very happy that's actually popping off so far. 2 of the major hard-hitting threats are gone, which is absolutely fantastic for us. And I think here I send in the Jester just because it's the best neutral play, and if I switch out, then I can get a free regenerator off, which is always very nice. So my opponent sends out Spectrier as we send out Slowking. Because of the U-turn, they got to see that we sent out Slowking first, and I think here I'm doing some calcs to see how much damage a Dark Pulse will do to Meloetta, because Meloetta is always my switch into this thing, especially now that my other Assault Vest user, being Berserker, is gone. I think I might also be doing some calcs to see if Slowking can take a hit, but ultimately my better play is always every single time to just switch into the, the Meloetta. And while I can't use Relic Song against it, unfortunately, that is still the best play to make. I think I'm also debating Pudge here, just predicting a Dark Pulse, and also to see if this is actually... yes, I do actually switch into Pudge here, that's right, because I'm predicting a Dark Pulse, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to switch into Pudge here, just because even if a Draining Kiss pops off here, like, we're still going to resist it decently well. We'll still be able to tank it a little bit decently. We do see the Dark Pulse pop off, and it does do a decent chunk of damage, unfortunately. And here is where I've revealed my switcheroo strat on Pudge, because here I'm very concerned about Spectrier just popping off. If I can choice lock in into one move, that is really, really, really good for us. So I do remember this play. I go for the switcheroo here eventually, and choice scarf this thing. It will be the fastest thing on the field now, but I have several Pokemon that can tank hits from this thing, so it's not a major threat. Alright, and thankfully we do fire off the switcheroo very successfully as Spectrier does stay in. And then Spectrier obtains the Choice Scarf, and we actually obtain the Colbur Berry, which is a pretty decent bring, honestly, against me. And a Draining Kiss does knock us out, which is very unfortunate, but now this thing is choice locked into Draining Kiss, meaning I really wish I had Berserker alive still, but this does give us a free switch, and what I actually do here, if I remember correctly, is I go into Corviknight, predicting a hit because Draining Kiss does diddly squat against Corviknight, and I think I'm thinking about what I'm doing here, but I'm pretty sure I do eventually go into Corviknight here. Yes, I do go into the Corviknight. So my goal here, I'm playing very risky here because this thing cannot touch Spectrier, and again, like I said before, I'm really wishing I had a flying move especially because Clodsire isn't here, which would normally, I think, come in versus this thing. So here I'm like, okay, I'm playing a massive bluff right now, but I do benefit from it because my opponent is locked in his Draining Kiss. And sure enough, my opponent does end up switching out. This forces it out, and surprisingly, my opponent actually sends in Kingambit. This was a very surprising thing to see, and I'm not exactly sure why my opponent did this. They might have been predicting a flying move, I think that's what they were predicting, and we just simply go for an Iron Defense, which is very, very good for us because all we have to do now is click Body Press. As you can tell, it's a very easy play for me to make. It's going to do a crap ton of damage, and my opponent obviously knows this because they switch out, and then they send in Nori, whom I believe is the Dragalge. Yes, and even then, Dragalge is still going to take a decent chunk from this, which is always very nice, and I believe that is a 2-shot, I think. I can't remember. No, it's not a 2-shot. That's right, because I think I was worried about that and I decided against it. So I do switch into Hatsune Miku here to tank whatever this thing wants to throw at me. I also switch into Hatsune Miku here because I see this as very free fodder to set up a Relic Song, which is always very good, and I'm very much a fan of that. It does a decent chunk of damage to me, and I just click Relic Song here, and it might just straight up KO, which I'm hoping it does. So here I click Relic Song, we change it to a Pirouette Form, which is always very cool. Unfortunately, Dragalge does barely live, and they opt to go for an Acid Spray, which is very unfortunate. It doesn't do that much damage. I personally really love Acid Spray, but not when it's used against me, because our special defense is harshly lowered. It has a guaranteed chance to lower our special defense by 2 stages. So now I'm like, okay, crap. I can't take a hit from Spectrier that well. This is not good. So I have to just finish off Dragalge, click Knock Off, and that's exactly what I do here. Bada bing, bada boom, Nori goes down. Now I have to worry about Spectrier, a Dark Pulse Spectrier coming in, which I think is exactly what happens. Something worth noting about the Meloetta is that our special defense stat, once we have changed forms, is severely lower than it is with the base form. So the Pirouette form is a lot more offensive, but it's a lot more frail. which means the Spectrier could actually deal a crap ton of damage to me. Surprisingly enough, the Quaquaval comes in, and I'm like, okay, I could switch out here. This gives me a free switch into the Slowking, and especially because I'm in my Pirouette form, I don't have to worry about it anymore, like trying to set it up. And this is a very, 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 very big throw on my part, because what I didn't realize here, sure, we take this hit extremely well, but Meloetta goes back to their regular form if they switch out. They don't stay in their Pirouette form. That just makes no sense to me, and I hate it, but you'll probably see my reaction later on, but I'm very upset when I learn that Meloetta does not keep its Pirouette form if it switches out. This is where Kingambit comes in, and obviously switching out, predicting a psychic move, and I do successfully fire off a trick. So we reveal the switcheroo and the trick strat, and now Kingambit has the choice specs, and we have the Lumberry, which was very good intel to note. And obviously the Kingambit is Supreme Overlord, which can be very, very terrifying. So yeah, overall, you can see in the icon down below, I'm not paying attention to that, but the Hatsune Miku is unfortunately back in her song form, not her dance form, not her pirouette form. And that makes me very sad. So I think here is another throw I make. I stay in and I go for Chilly Reception thinking I can tank a hit. I forget how Supreme Overlord works and we just straight up die. Very, very sad, very, very unfortunate for us, as Slowking here would have been very nice for later on in the game. However, I do bring in Meloetta here, and this is where I see my mistake. Yeah, there we go. Yep, I think that right there is where I realized my mistake. And yeah, you can tell I'm like, well, that happened. But regardless here, I still have close combat, and I will still outspeed with a Relic Song, but unfortunately we will die to a Sucker Punch, although granted, it is choice specs, and I do know that by this point. Here I just click close combat because it's an easy play to make, and I think here my opponent actually switches out into Spectrier, predicting that play. So, and that is exactly what, nope, never mind, it is the Quaquaval that comes in. So close combat's going to do a decent chunk, not going to do near as much as that would have if I was in my Pirouette form, and it is a crit. So I'm very upset. This thing is now very threatening as well because of the fact that Slowking is dead. Granted, I do have Tatsugiri in the back and as well as Corviknight. So I opt to send in Tatsugiri, who quad resists the water attack, and I just been praying that, you know, close combat doesn't pop off, and I'll also probably reveal my Tera Dragon here. Close combat pops off, and it one-shots, which is very, very unfortunate for us. We did not take that at all. So I have made a series of blunders in this game to where all of a sudden I went from this game going very much in my favor to me on this very much back foot. So I send in Corviknight here to help deal with this threat. I think here I just set up an Iron Defense. In fact, yes, I do remember what happens here. What happens here is my opponent stays in and keeps clicking close combat, and I just set up an Iron Defense and click Roost for a while, and we just go back and forth for a decent amount of time. I might cut the footage here that I'm recording currently and just play that whole thing out, just so that way you can see what's actually happening. But yeah. We just click Iron Defense as my opponent continuously tries to get a crit with close combat. Thankfully, they do never get the crit, and we are able to eventually finish off Quaquaval. I was fully expecting Spectrier to come in at some point, but it didn't. Clearly, my opponent is still fearing that I have, maybe I have Power Trip or something like that. At this point, though, I am very scared about Spectrier endgame, because all I have left is an Assault Vest Meloetta that's weak to Dark Pulse now, and also a Corviknight that cannot touch it. So an endgame with Spectrier is not looking great. Thankfully, we are able to finish off Quaquaval. I don't think the crit mattered there just because the close combat kept popping off for eons, but after that whole thing, surprisingly enough, the Kingambit comes in. I don't know why exactly my opponent did this. Maybe they thought that the Kingambit would KO or that they would outspeed us. I'm not too sure, like maybe this was an offensive set, but we know that this is not the Tropical Berry, and we do actually outspeed, and a Body Press just picks it off immediately. So I definitely think my opponent could have made this a 2-0 game. I think if they just won with I think they literally just won with Spectrier at this point. And I do have a couple of things I can try. Clearly my opponent is going to lock into Dark Pulse here. I have to hope that I can either stall it out or that I can do something else. My goal here is to try and stall out Spectrier's Dark Pulses, which unfortunately, as you can tell, does not work because of the flinch. There was a decent chance, I think, that I could have done something, but unfortunately, eventually I do lose this 1v1, and I have to send in Meloetta, which, again, the fact that I'm not in my Pirouette form is really, really unfortunate for us, as if I was in my Pirouette form, we would have won this game. We also get flinched here again, and we just immediately just fall. Here, I send out Meloetta to hopefully be able to tank a couple hits decently well, so that way my opponent doesn't set up their nasty, or like their Grim Nay, whatever that ability is. And unfortunately, it is revealed that we aren't going to be able to 1v1 this. I click Zen Headbutt here because A, it is stab, and B, because I don't want to knock off the Choice Scarf. But unfortunately, it is revealed that we won't be able to finish this thing off. And again, this endgame was rough after the second flinch with Corviknight. Maybe there was a chance I could have stalled out the Spectrier completely, but unfortunately that isn't going to happen, and Spectrier will pick up 2 more KOs and win us the game. It's very funny because I can't remember if I mentioned this in the team preview, but Nova did bring up that he was like, Corviknight's going to lose to Spectrier, right? And I was like, well, my goal is with Corviknight specifically is I'm not going to keep it until the end game. Unfortunately, that's just how it happened. I kept it till the end game, and this is exactly the situation I wanted to avoid. Spectrier does pick up the KO, and it's very sad. As you can tell, I'm very energized about the loss. But yeah, GG's again to my opponent. They played extremely, extremely well. Their link will be down in the description below. I love their card, by the way. They played very well. They had a fantastic team versus me. It was a team that I did not prep the best for. I mean, again, the fact that no Clodsire was there ruined Corviknight quite a bit, because if I had a flying move, then Spectrier would probably have lost. Again, there were so many situations where I could have won the game, but I made several bad plays, especially during that mid-late game section. Like letting Slowking go down instead of switching to the Corviknight, letting Tatsugiri go down, things like that were definitely very rough on my end. But GG's, we are 0-2 now, so we are really hoping for wins for pretty much the rest of the season. We don't need the wins, obviously, but it would be very nice to grab them. And yeah, granted, 0-2 means nothing at this point in the game for playoffs, because we are at 9 weeks. The recording stopped. But yeah, we are at the 3 weeks, or second week's not even 3 weeks. Week 3 will be coming up next week. And if you look at the NBBL, we went 0-2 in that league, and now we got second overall in the regular season. Like, we placed the 2nd seed, which is absolutely massive for us. So the 0-2 means nothing right now, but we are going to have to play to our A game and stop making mistakes like what I made in this game. Regardless, though, again, GG's to my opponent. Their links will be down in the description below. If you guys enjoyed this battle, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below about what your favorite moment was in this battle. Also, please consider checking out my Ko-Fi page, as any support you're able to make is immensely, immensely appreciated and helps me continue doing what I love doing. And yeah, that'll pretty much do it. So I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace out, mates!